Houston gets 7 the hard way, struggling against a lowly 2-win Raiders team who presented challenges that made it difficult to find a win, but H-Town got it done.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. Fun show ahead of us today. Houston gets 7 the hard way. The win streak is still alive. And I asked DeMeco Ryans about his reflection on the win streak and what does it mean for his team, himself, and also his coaching staff. So we'll talk about that. But the defense not playing up to their standard again. 2 weeks in a row now where DeMeco Ryans has pointed out the flaws in their defense following victory. So we'll talk about that. And the offense just took steps back. That's where I absolutely want to start today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. And I am your Texans credential media member and football analyst, John Hickman. Shout out to my everydayers from the Himalayas, making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day, and for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast in the nation. Now, I do want to add before we get started, Houston is now 8-5, over the Raiders all time. But DeMeco Ryans highlighted the Raiders defense as I did throughout the week. Those guys are not slouches over there. They are not slouches. And because they had 2 wins, sometimes you can overlook them. But defensively, they ain't been the issue. It's been that offensive side of the ball. But the Raiders took away Houston's ability to run. This took away one of Houston's best threats, the play action game. I didn't think, and I don't think it was an issue with who was at running back, right? Jawad Jordan got some time. Nick Chubb returned back to action. I like the fact that, hey, they gave Jordan more reps to get his game going. They may need him down the stretch, but I don't want to place the blame on Jordan. I don't want to place the blame on Nick Chubb. I don't want to say it was because in the absence of Woody Marks. I'm not going to do any of that. Like all year, when the run game hasn't been good, there's no Joe Mixon. We got to look at what's going on up front. I think the offensive line did a great job protecting their quarterback, as a matter of fact. Just a subpar performance in the run. This led to Houston looking to the Houston running backs, looking at negative 0.19 yards before contact. I mean, they were hitting the backfield a lot. The Raiders struggled to get pressure on C.J. Stroud, but they ended the game with 6 tackles for loss. No consistent push led to 3.2 yards per carry. When Houston rushes for over 100 yards, 100 yards, 17 points in those games. And in those games, you got 84, 19 points, 87, 10 points, 56, 19 points, 1 defensive touchdown. So we look at the Houston Texans defense coming to aid there. 77 rushing yards, 15 points, 75, 16 points, 82, 20 points, and yesterday, 83, 23 points, but again, 1 defensive touchdown. So in 2 games, 56, you're looking at 12 points from the offense. And then 83, you're looking at 16 points from the offense. When they can't run the ball, different offense. And also, you got to look at Houston whenever they face long third down conversions, they struggled. They were 1 of 5 on 3rd and 7 or more on the year. DeMeco Ryans talked about the offensive struggles. And let's hear from Coach on what he saw from the Houston Texans offensively.
Yeah, the main thing is we couldn't run the football, right? We didn't control the line of scrimmage, how we needed to control the line of scrimmage. They got a lot of negative, not a lot of tackles for losses, right? Knocked us back a few times, and we didn't run the ball well. And on the flip side of that, they were able to run the ball effectively, and that was the difference, in the game. We controlled the line of scrimmage better. Right? We can sustain drives a little bit better to be in better control of the game. I feel like the Raiders are a good defensive unit that they haven't gotten enough credit for how good this unit is. Coach Graham's done a great job of coaching his defense. They're really good players, and we knew it would be a challenge all week, right? And as I tell our guys, there aren't any easy wins in this league just because you look at a team's record. That's not indicative of who that team is. Everybody's going to come out. They're going to play hard. We knew we would be up against a challenge, so it's no surprise. Like, we knew we had to work for the yards. We just got to do a better job of trying to, control the line of scrimmage and sustain drives.
And he's absolutely right. But this is part of one of the bigger issues for Houston, right? Not being able to run the ball, how they struggle offensively to put up points. Quite frankly, C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, the biggest reason why Houston's offense struggled versus the Raiders. We can't make the excuse he was under pressure. He was not under pressure, right? But he played like he was under pressure, and he wasn't sacked at all. The offensive line didn't give up a sack. They only allowed 7 pressures total, and a good chunk of those passes sailed over a receiver's head, released late from the quarterback, and Stroud also either didn't trust his reads or the players running the route. I mean, that was one of those 3rd and 5. It was extremely frustrating where Dare underneath on a crossing route was wide open with room to run, and he didn't hit him. Or you look at how the game started, and on 2 back-to-back drives, you're missing guys that are wide open. I mean, he looked rushed. He said it himself, right? But nobody was rushing him. And as I've said before, the tail of the tape will show Houston's O-line having a rough day in the run game. And I get it. But the passing game, excellent. Neutralized the Raiders up front. Handled the blitz extremely well. I think they were blitzed at nearly 30% of their dropbacks. They handled the blitz really well. And before the injury, I think Ariante Ursary was having arguably his best game. It's frustrating to watch a quarterback who may have all the talent in the world, by the way, but play so inconsistently when judging this offense for the 2025 season. And I'm going to always isolate these performances to 2025. I think this is a better offensive line compared to 2024. I think this offensive line is comparable to 2023, which is why, again, it's frustrating because the 2023 version of C.J. Stroud, these layups, these passes that we grew accustomed to seeing, no longer seeing it, would have been easy connections. So when judging this offense for the 2025 season, I think the Raiders' victory can wrap up who they are. When C.J. has been asked to elevate the offense consistently for 4 quarters, not just a drive to put the game away after the defense has been doing their thing all game, but for 4 quarters consistently, it's been hard to find. It's been hard to find to ask C.J. Stroud to elevate this offense when things are breaking down. This year, he's shown to be a long way from 2023. And going into the playoffs, guys, the fact is Trevor Lawrence in the division is playing some of the best ball in the NFL right now from the quarterback position. Drake May is playing his best ball. Justin Herbert, also another AFC quarterback, they are all playing their best ball, and Houston needs Stroud to step it up if this team has a shot at the big one. That's the fact of the matter. I thought that Sunday's performance, given what the Raiders showed, given how the offensive line took what the Raiders showed, communicated well up front, gave their quarterback time, those throws, missing those throws, in my opinion, is inexcusable. Now, what's also inexcusable from DeMeco Ryans is the defensive struggles. Another week of not playing up to their standards. So we'll talk about that when we return. More Locked On Texans. Car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all of the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want. Because when it comes to making a big purchase, you deserve the best deals. And Car Gurus makes the whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else so you can shop the way you want. Their price drops alerts are a lifesaver. You get notified the second a car you've been watching becomes a little bit better. That deal becomes a lot better. The in-depth vehicle reviews help you understand what ownership actually looks like, not just how the car looks online. I know a lot of us could use that feature. Car Guru connects you with trusted dealerships with a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deals. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That is CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com. Getting back to today's conversation, the defensive struggles for Houston. 6 plays of 10 or more yards, 3 plays of 30 or more yards. I mean, right there, that's going to frustrate DeMeco Ryans. But it was an up and down day for the Houston Texans defense. Like I mentioned, the Houston Texans scored 23 points. 7 of those came from Derek Stingley's first pick six. And I thought he got one a couple of years ago. But then I remember every time Derek Stingley gets in the open field on an interception where it looks like he could take it to the house, Stingley typically slows down. Like, it's so crazy how much of a superstar he is and how much – now, I'm not going to say he runs away from superstardom, right? But he'll avoid any type of recognition. And if I could just think off the top of my head, I think Derek Stingley should have had at least 2 pick sixes by now in his career. I think to the one last year where I think if he just runs flat out, and we are still wondering what that 40 speed was from his freshman year where they just said, man, this dude is a unicorn for real, that corner. But then he gets hawked down, missed tackle, but he also slowed down. If he just runs this right out, he runs that into the end zone. But there were some good moments for Houston. 7 drives of 5 or fewer plays for the Houston Texans defense. That's a positive. 1 TD in those drives, 1 interception, 102 yards in those drives, including the 65-yard touchdown, right? And so you take that away. Houston's looking at 1 interception. Houston's also looking at no TD. Houston's looking at under 60 yards, 7 drives of 5 or fewer plays. But for DeMeco Ryans, consistency throughout the game is probably what bothered him the most. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans on the up and down day from the Texans defense.
We challenged our team, our defense, right, to get a turnover in the first quarter that hadn't happened for us all year. And for Sting to show up how he did and get not only a turnover, but to go score. We needed points bad, and Stingley showed up and made a huge play for our team. Like, we needed that play. Stingley did it. Outstanding awareness by him to be able to make that play, not only just pick it off, but to go score. Really proud of him, right? You continue to try him. He continues to make plays. So great play by him. But overall, the defensive performance, there's too many explosive plays. Like, that's not what we're about. Like, we got to clean up the communication. The tackling is not good. That's not the defensive performance that we look for. And so we have to play better.
DeMeco wants his defense to play better. And then even when I go back to the game versus the Raiders, I mean, defensively, the Raiders are 6 of 14 on third down. But the game can be wrapped up in 9 penalties from the Raiders compared to 4 penalties for the Houston. That's a positive for the Houston Texans altogether. But I think the game can be wrapped up into – I thought they did a better job against the tight end unit, Brock Bowers and Michael Myers. They combined for 6 catches for 43 yards. Brock Bowers did have the touchdown the 7-yard TD in the red zone, but that was just a good play made by Brock Barr. So you look at last week, the tight end game that they allowed to Trey McBride and the improvement this following week against the Raiders, and I look at one adjustment that I noticed it early on, and I tweeted it out. Let's see if the numbers have been updated, and they have not. But early in the game, I noticed this is in the first quarter, I believe, maybe somewhere through the second quarter. But I said, hey, listen, Caleb Bullock got 8 snaps lined up in the box. Okay, the adjustments. And I thought that Bullock played the run very well against the Raiders. And so the coverage there to limit the tight end unit, something that could be a struggle for Houston, I thought was extremely impressive. So shout out to Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, who's a hot name around the league now. Is he going to leave Houston or what? Will he be the first coach under DeMeco Ryans' coaching tree? But also DeMeco Ryans as well to just eliminate the tight end unit. But this game could be summed up in a few things for the Houston Texans. And those things have been areas of this defense, which we've talked about somewhat during DeMeco Ryans' tenure, but mainly in the last couple of years. And that is missed tackles. I mean, the Texans defense is missing tackles in the run game at a 23.4% clip, the highest such rate in the NFL. This is from Paul Gutierrez. That continues to be an issue. That's in the run game, and that's also in the passing game, right? And so that was a problem for Houston. Henry T in coverage, I thought he started the game off solid, but as the game went on, he broke down. You would expect for him to have a little bit more help and assistance on the outside with one-on-one with a running back like Ashton Genty lined up wide. So I'm not sure what happened on that play. I'm not going to speculate. Maybe that was, confusion of will. But I will say the technique and how it was played by Henry To'oTo'o was just god-awful, right? So that's a problem. That was a problem for the Houston Texans and not playing up to their standard. But I think it's hard to play up to their standards when, number one, you're missing Azeez Al-Shaair. I thought EJ Speed played decent in his role for Houston in his time, but Azeez is the heart of that defense, and that standard is going to be hard to find when he ain't out there. But this is more so, in my opinion, about Houston missing Tim Settle, Mario Edwards, and how that D tackle unit is starting to break down. And I want to say this now, and I want to maybe look at it a little bit more, but if he's available to play, if mentally he's in a good space, if whatever happened in the Raiders locker room can stay where it is, I think it may make sense for Houston to, at the very least, call Christian Wilkins and see if he can come in for a workout, see where his mind is at, see if he can come in and play football. Because it looks like that could be an exposure for Houston. Now, granted, things could look a whole lot different when Azeez is out there. But just from the eye test, and I can't wait to go back and rewatch the game, it looked like Houston had a hard time creating a push defensively into the Raiders' backfield. And the Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. So we talk about this defensive standard from DeMeco Ryans' defensive unit. Okay, they were missing guys. They missed guys the last couple of weeks. They missed Azeez Al-Shaair. Okay, would that play on Ashton Genty would have happened? Would that 60-yarder would have happened if Azeez was out there in coverage? Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, is the depth of the linebacker unit, that's going to be a problem? Maybe, who knows? But what I will say is Coach Ryans is absolutely right. Their standard, which has led to them being the number one defense in the NFL the last couple of weeks, you can point to small things and say, this is not how we can win games. And while that's important to say, what has been the most consistent side of the ball all year? Who's been that most consistent side of the ball? It's been the defense. The defense has willed them to, and I think a little bit of yesterday as well. So you look at this 7-game win streak, 6 of those primarily have been due to how the defense has played. They're going to need it against the Chargers. They're going to need it against the Colts to close out the year. They're going to need it against the playoffs, whoever they take on in the playoffs. And right now, Houston looks like they're going to be locked into that 7th seed. So right now, it looks like the Houston Texans will play the Patriots in round 1. And I want to watch that game with y'all. But the defense has been the standard all year, and I think they know internally, and I think we know it. If they play the Patriots or if they play the Jaguars another time, like if they play some of these teams where the quarterback is playing their best ball, we can't allow these explosive plays. We can't allow that because we don't know if our offense is going to be able to create explosive plays back. But the win streak is still alive, and I think that needs to be celebrated as well for the Houston Texans. All things considered, their season that they've had to this point. So let's talk about that to close out today's show. The NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. Texas fans know about that from the Raiders game. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. Oh, no, wait. That's how it feels, right? And with FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the action with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, player props update as guys get hot, and more. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Getting back to today's episode before we close out, listen here, man. Shout out to my everydayers. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new everydayer club. Access to free audio for Locked On Texans, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major podcasting apps. Also, an invite to members-only Locked On Everydayer Discourse server, which includes a group chat just for the listeners of this show. Go to lockedontexans.supercast.com. Again, go to lockedontexans.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. As we continue, with this conversation today, I asked DeMeco Ryans about just, has he been able to reflect on the win streak? DeMeco Ryans, well, for the Houston Texans, they've had 3 separate win streaks of 7 or more. DeMeco Ryans was a part of that as a player in 2021. And it happened again under Bill O'Brien. I believe it was 9 games, and Houston could match the 9-game win streak. If they close out these next couple of games with dubs, they're going to need the offense and defense to play up to a different standard, of course. But we get caught up a lot in how Houston started the season, and I did as well. 0-3 after the expectations, and more so on what they sold us in the offseason. We get caught up on it a lot, but during this win streak, it's been highs, it's been lows, but mainly highs because Houston has been able to pull out the victory. So I want you guys to hear from DeMeco Ryans on keeping the win streak alive and his ability to reflect on just what this team has been this year.
I'm really proud of our team, right, for the adversity we faced at the beginning of the year. A lot of teams could have folded, but our guys didn't. Our guys stayed the course. Our coaches stayed the course. We've adjusted some things, tweaked some things we need to tweak. That's what you have to do. Right, when our team has always believed, no matter how it looked at the beginning of the season, they've always believed. And today, when I just showed, if you play the right way, you play with the proper effort, right, you do the things necessary, right, it's just all about getting the win. Really, it doesn't matter how it looks. It's beautiful to get the win. I'm proud of our team for continuing to find ways to win. That's always our goal.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. They found ways to get it done. Uh, Shout out to Derek Stingley. He's the only player in the NFL to have at least 4 interceptions in each of his last 3 seasons. Special player. But what's been impressive from Houston during this win streak is it's been Nick Chubb, it's been Woody Marks, it's been Jawad Jordan. You can sprinkle in, you know, it's been this left guard, but then they get Titus Howard over there. Trent Brown is inserted, and then you see a different offensive line combination, and you see better protection. Right? It's been Danielle Hunter, it's been Will Anderson, it's been A. Sachs, it's been Kalen Bullock, it's been Kamari, it's been Derek Stingley. Right? It's been a multitude of different players help push the team. It's been Davis Mills. It's been CJ Stroud. And I kind of wonder, and I know you Texas fans out there, when will that Davis Mills need to be the starting quarterback discourse starting up? But it's been so many different factors into how Houston has been able to rebound from 0-3 to now their third consecutive 10-win season. Shout out to DeMeco Ryans, right? And that's what's made this season so impressive. It's extremely up and down. It's been a roller coaster, I think, and I think fans can admit that. But when you think about some of the crucial moments in games during this 7-game win streak, it's been Davis Mills in the fourth quarter. It's also been Derek Stingley and that defense in the fourth quarter, right? It's been Kaimi Fairbairn a lot. I don't know what his numbers are on field goals during the 7-game win streak, but I know it's a high number, right? It's been it's been Sheldon Rankins. You know, it's been that D tackle unit having good moments. Players all alike recognize the position the Houston Texans are in, what's in front of them. And the locker room, I think, right now is extremely gelled, extremely close. They're playing together. Will Anderson spoke yesterday. For all of you guys that wanted to know, but this is a special bunch. What scares me a little bit is every defense that I named last week: the Baltimore Ravens, the 2000s, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 03 when they made it to the Super Bowl, the LOP, the Denver Broncos. Those defenses all made it to the Super Bowl. And what scares me is the possibility of this team not making it to the Super Bowl. We'll have to see. But I think where they are right now is remarkable in itself. Thank you for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. 7 the hard way. They move on. Victory Monday. Possible victory December. That's good for Houston heading into the playoffs where they are locked in currently as the 7th seed. The AFC is just crazy right now. Crazy right now. You got Jacksonville holding their big ones over the Denver Broncos. Nobody fears the Broncos, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars did what Houston could have possibly done if CJ didn't go out, but they got it done. Kudos, and I can't wait. I hope we get another Locked On crossover with the Jags. But it's been a hot last 5 or so games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence playing some scary football. AFC is tough right now. The AFC is extremely tough. So I can't wait to see where Houston finishes the year. But follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12, Instagram at some sports guy. Texan fans, VICTORY, because Houston got it done. Victory Monday, victory week. I'll see y'all on Tuesday, baby.